Hello and welcome to whatever episode this is of A Tonic for Lunacy. I'm your host, Donna. And today I want to talk to you about manifesting by design. And what does that actually mean? Okay. First of all, I want to tell you what it is not. So there's a lot of jazz out there on the interwebs, on the World Wide Web, that you can manifest based on your variable, based on one of the variables. If it's pointing right, it means that you are, and it's the variable that's the bot. If you are on YouTube, I will share my screen. So it's the variable that is pointing here to the right, the bottom right. It doesn't matter because it's not true, but the top, nope, the bottom right variable. People have said that if it points to the right, that means that you are a peripheral, non-focused manifester, right? So like when the manifesting coaches tell you, write everything down 159 times, blah, 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 that's not going to work for you because you are not a focused manifester. And if the arrow is pointing left, that means you are a focused manifester, focus on exactly what you want, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But none of that matters. So forget I said all of that because none of that is true. And that's the thing with the information out there on the World Wide Web is that it is very hard to tell what is true and what is not true. So I always suggest to people, no matter who it is, no matter what you're learning, experiment with it. And maybe that's because of my line 3, that my line 3 is always like experiment, experiment, experiment. But I think we all experiment with things no matter what line we are. That's just how life works. We bump up against shit. Does it work? Can I do something different? I think that the biggest difference is that the other lines tend to make it, and the line 3 does too, but for the other lines, they are a little bit less resilient, if you will. Line 3s are a lot more resilient when they knock into things and try different things, because trial and error is in our blood. And I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but this was something huge for me growing up because I was such a quitter. Like I tried every sport, and your girl is not athletic. She just needs to accept it. I literally cannot catch a ball for my life, but I tried every sport. I've tried all the different hobbies and crafts and things. Ask my ex-husband. I tried a gajillion things. And I always thought that made me a quitter, that meant that there was something wrong with me. That meant that I was broken, that I wasn't good enough because I sucked at all this stuff. Or I just didn't like it anymore. And I remember people used to say to me, like, just stick with it. Just keep going. Just stick with it. Even if you don't like it, just stick with it. And I'm like, I physically cannot. Like, it is not in my blood to stick with it. And I think that's honestly true for everyone. Like, if you do not follow strategy and authority and you are engaged in something and it's not right, like you feel it physically, especially generators, right? Like not manifesting generators, I'm talking about generators. When they enter into something incorrectly and then they are like, shit, this isn't right for me, it hurts. It hurts them. It hurts their soul. Because they are going at like 100 miles an hour and then they kind of like hit that brick wall. And a lot of times they feel it physically, especially line ones. Line ones feel things in their bodies a lot. I have gone on like 300 tangents already, and it's been 3 minutes. Okay. I just want to touch on one thing before we go into manifesting. The information on the interwebs. Find someone you love, find a teacher that you love, and try it out. Right? Try it out. Like one of the biggest misconceptions, and I hate doing this, but also like, do I love it? A girl that I know great person. Like I know her in real life, IRL, right? Like not on the interweb. Was sharing something on her stories about human design, about manifesting generators being hybrids. And she was sharing some other things that were just not correct. And I was like, oh, do I correct her? Like, I don't want to come off as like this, like, whatever, like HD police, right? Like, definitely not who I am. I try to not even look at other people's content a lot of times because it just makes me angry. But I was like, do I correct her? Do I not? And I was like, you know what? Like, I have to. I have to. My sacral's like, yes, yes, she needs to know. So I did. I messaged her and I was like, hey, manifesting generators are not hybrids. They do not work like manifestors. They don't. They are generators. Manifesting generators are just generators that do things quickly and skip a lot of steps, right? Like, of course, there's other differences. And maybe we should do a whole podcast on just like nuances or like the shit that the interwebs gets wrong about human design. And I am certainly not the be all end all on that. I'm sure there's stuff that I get wrong, and please, if I do, let me know so I can correct it. But I do try to do a lot of research. And that's what I told her. I was like, you know, a lot of people will kind of change things. Like I have admittedly talk about shadows in places where Ra did not talk. Like that is my piece of human design that I've kind of played around with and made my own based on psychology. Um, Not all of it is from the source materials. Like some of it is like things that I've put together, right? Which is classic Mangen 1-3. But most of the stuff that I share is source material stuff. It's from Ra. Like I read, I listen. I try not to regurgitate what other teachers say. Okay. So manifesting that arrow, not going to help you. Try it. You can certainly try it and play along with it, play around with it. I really encourage people to just to observe themselves, right? To like observe what happens. Like I know that when I'm trying to manifest something, it never works when I'm trying, right? Like it has to be like set it and forget it kind of thing. Um, like the other, okay, this is such a stupid, weird example, but the other day I was driving past my house, like pulling out of my driveway, and my neighbor was outside, and I said hi. And like I had this thought. I was like, every summer he brings me tomatoes from his garden, and I didn't get any this year. Where are my tomatoes? No, it was just like a passive thought. Like every year we get tomatoes from him. Like I wonder if he's growing them again. That's it. Totally forgot about it because it was such like a random thought. I come back from wherever the hell I was, and there's literally tomatoes at my door, like tied on the doorknob. And I was like, did I manifest those tomatoes? So, am I an unfocused manifester? Does this actually work? And here's what I found to be key, right? Detachment. So, there are so many different pieces to manifesting. So, let's talk about that for a second. And there is a masterclass. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about all the pieces to manifesting. When you're trying to create something you don't have, how do I do it? And how do I do it quickly? And how does human design help me? So I don't have notes. So you guys, I'm going to go off on tangents. Everybody's cool with that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to know what we want, right? Like what is it that I want that I don't already have? So the easiest example I can give that probably almost everyone can relate to is monies, right? Like I want to be a gajillionaire, and right now I am not a gajillionaire. So how could I manifest gajillionaire status? So we know what we don't have. We know who we are not. Now, I want to be, well, what all the manifesting books tell us is the fastest way to manifest a gajillionaire status is start being a gajillionaire, right? And then we're like, well, how do I do that? How do I be a gajillionaire? So it is a It's a state of being. Like it's so hard to explain. Like it's just who you are. Like it's just how you move through life. It's just the thoughts that you have. It's just the perspectives that you have. It's just the energy that you possess, right? So how do we change who we are being, which is like the basis, right? So if we're looking at that like NLP pyramid, which I've done a lot of work with, you guys have probably seen my shadow work pyramid. But the NLP pyramid is like, who are you being? Like, who are you being? Because what we manifest is based off of the energy that we are constantly in, right? Like if who I'm being is first, and then it's thoughts, or I'm sorry, then it's beliefs, and then it's thoughts, and then it's behaviors, right? So first, if we're talking foundational, it's who am I being? And I realized that NLP period, I think pyramid, the bottom is, I believe, environment. Whatever. Nonetheless, I should share that. I have that. I will pull that up while I talk. But the biggest thing is figuring out who we are being and change who we are being, right? To what we want to create. So I want to be a gajillionaire, then I need to start being a gajillionaire. Now, how the hell do we do that? And this is where a lot of manifesting coaches get it wrong, because they're like, oh, just affirm. You guys know my status on affirming, and I'm not a fan. I just don't think it works. I don't think it works because your brain is not going to accept it. And here's where human design shadow comes into play, right? Because if you don't have what you want right now, that means that your subconscious mind has an opposing thought, has an opposing belief, right? So we have the subconscious mind that's like, it's not safe to be rich. You cannot be a gajillionaire. And then you have your conscious mind that's like, I want to be a gajillionaire. And they're going like this, right? They're bumping heads. Who's going to win? Who's going to win the fight between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind? Spoiler alert, it will always be the subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is operating consistently. Even when you're sleeping, even when you're not thinking, even when you are thinking, your subconscious mind is who you be. And therefore, it is constantly creating your reality. So the more conscious that you can be, the more time you can spend in your conscious mind, which I think like it's some crazy percentage of time that we typically spend being 100% conscious and like presence, like some 5% of the day or something. The more time we can spend in that energy, the more that we can consciously create. But you are still pushing against your subconscious mind. It's not easy. That's why like it's like affirm. It's like this energy of like force, push, control, because I'm trying to be higher, more, better than my subconscious mind. But at the end of the day, the subconscious mind is going to win. So you could have that gajillionaire day, but then the next day you're like, I'm sick. I lost it all. There's always expenses to pay, right? There's always bills that come in every time I make money. Why is that? It's because of what is happening in the subconscious mind. So this is where human design shadow work comes in, because it helps us recognize what is in the subconscious mind and what I need to work through, and how that could be affecting my relationship with money, with men, with children, whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you're trying to create. So let me share. Hold on one second. I just wanted to look at the NLP. Okay. Not important. I'm gonna try to stay focused for you all. Can she do it? Okay. So if you're on YouTube, hi, welcome. If you are not, then I'm going to try to, if you're just listening to the podcast, I'm just going to try to explain this very well. So what I did right now is I pulled up my shadow chart. So you can get a free shadow chart on my website. And I will put the link in the show notes, but you can get a free shadow chart. And then I do recommend, like, sometimes it pops up like weird and like the spacing, you guys, technology, okay? But also like this software that I use to create these is not exactly pretty, right? Like it's a little clunky. So I do recommend that you go up here to download PDF and then let the PDF download. And it still is not beautiful for the free chart, but we're working on fixing it. This is what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so what we have here is my body graph. And what I want to look for is the shadows that are holding me back from manifesting what I want. So what do we know? We know that what is in my subconscious mind is likely running my life. So when you download the free chart, actually what I give you is your definition. So I talk about your channels, the channels that you have, and they're not self behaviors. Why? Because this is our strengths. And I should add this to my website to explain. These are our strengths. These are where we are naturally ourselves. This is what we are naturally good at. This is who we should be. This is what we have energy to be, to access, right? This is the points, the possibilities, right? The points on the quantum field. These are our potentials and our possibilities. Now, if you don't have what you want, it is likely in your body graph, where your body graph is like, but you can have this. And I see this all the time where people are like, this is great. This is my potential. Oh my God, that's amazing. I have gate 14. I'm going to be a gajillionaire. But like, Donna, I'm not there. So like, how do I get there? Like, I see what's in my chart. I see my potential, but I'm not there. How do I get there? How do I do it? Right? Like I have 14.6. That's like the millionaire status. How do I get there? And that is why I give you the not self behaviors of the definition of your channels, because at some point in your life, you internalize these gifts and made them wrong. Right? At some point in your life, and this is the way the universe works, right? It's polarity. It's black and white, it's good and bad, it's evil and good. I don't know, whatever. This is how we learn, right? We can't experience being a gajillionaire if we've never experienced not being a gajillionaire, because how can we possibly give that meaning without the polarity, right? So if I have the energy to be a gajillionaire, I might experience the not self of being a non-gajillionaire, right? In order to experience what it means to be a gajillionaire. Now, this is obviously not true for everyone. For some people, they're just like, I don't know, money's easy. Like, I don't have it in my chart. I don't know. I don't care. But for others, it's like, I know I have the energy to create, but yet I can't seem to do it. I keep getting stuck. So we want to look everywhere. We want to look at that definition. At what point did that become a shadow? Now, what happens is when that energy, let's take the energy of money, became a shadow, it became wrong. So when I say shadows, I mean, these are all the things that you have made wrong for yourself. So at some point you had, okay, let's use an example. At some point, your parents did not have a lot of money and you saw them arguing about money because they had to give you, let's say, they had to buy you something and they were like, we don't have the money for this. And they're arguing, right? So your child mind internalizes that money is bad, money creates fights, and this is so basic and it's so nuanced for every person. Like we dive super deep into like the shadow of this in the human design shadow training, but I'll go into that in a minute. It's so, at some point you were like, oh, money's wrong, money is bad. So maybe you had 50 cents, whatever, and you were like, oh, this is bad, like I'm gonna put it over here, and now it becomes a shadow. So it gets buried. Money is bad, money is bad, money is bad. The reality is money's neither, right? Like money is fucking neutral. But the reality is that you are open to making money. You can have a lot of money. Money is your birthright. Money is your destiny. Whatever. I sound like one of those like palm readers. Money is actually a gift that you possess, that it's easy for you to make money, that it's not a big deal. But because of what happened in your childhood, now that money, that ease of making money is a shadow. And on top of that, we layer beliefs, thoughts, behaviors to make sure that we do not make the money, because making money is unsafe. Okay, everybody with me? Making money is unsafe because it creates fights. That's the story we're going with. Now, if I'm here manifesting money and I'm like, bring me the money, I don't understand. I'm doing all the things. I'm affirming. My subconscious mind is like, nah, no way. No way. This is unsafe. This is unsafe. So what manifesting misses, and even human design misses, in terms of getting from where you are today to your potential, to your definition, is one, the nervous system regulation. If I'm here manifesting money, I need to check in with my body. How does my body feel whenever I talk about being a gajillionaire? How does my body feel whenever I start affirming? Like, if I'm going into fight or flight, then newsflash, you're not manifesting, you're surviving. But how many of us are paying attention when we're asking the universe or God for something? How many of us are paying attention to our body? What does this actually feel like in my body? Now, something I go into in Shadow Stripper School this August, this month's class in Shadow Stripper School is all about embodying a new identity. And we go into the somatic storytelling of how do I really feel when I'm trying to create something, and what is my mind telling me? What is my body telling me? And how do I move from that state to a different state where it feels safe? But just looking at the shadow chart, we know what we have the potential to be. But now, how does it feel in my body when I try to be that? And if it doesn't feel good, we know there is a shadow. We know that that's a shadow, that it's a gift, right? Like, we get to have it, because if it's in my awareness, if I desire it, then it might be a gift of mine, right? That I get to have. But I just need to break the bonds of that shadow and start peeling away those layers of beliefs, thoughts, behaviors, right? So that's when I do the shadow work. That's how we do shadow work with human design. Now I'm like, okay, I got to do the shadow work on this. How do I do it? So what is the first belief? What is the first memory that you have around money? First, we want to know how it makes your body feel. If your body's going into fight or flight, we want to know, is it fight? Is it flight? Is it freeze? We want to know what it is. We want to know what your mind is saying when your body is in fight, flight, or freeze. What's the story? And then we want to go backwards, right? And unravel. Well, can you remember your first memory? Like me, I can't, right? You guys know I have no memory. I remember nothing. So for me, it wasn't necessarily, can I remember? It was like, something here is not right. So I went backwards and just kind of played around with different beliefs and asked my body. And because here's the thing, my mind does not remember, but the body keeps the score, right? The body remembers. So you don't have to use your mind. You can use the body. Well, is my issue that for example, that money is unsafe? So what I want to do is not necessarily ask that. I want to say, money makes me feel safe. And how does that feel in my body? Oh, no, right? Like, your body could be saying, no, that's not real. That's not true. Now we know that there's something there. So now we want to start to unravel those beliefs. Once we start to unravel, you'll know when you get to the core. And you guys, there's, I'm sure, videos and podcasts out there about the shadow work, the shadow pyramid. If you're in Shadow Stripper School, you have all of the information on how to do the shadow work using the shadow pyramid. But it's basically like, what's the belief? How did we get here? Do I accept this? And no, I don't accept this as my truth. Now, This is where we change who we are being. Now, how do I not say this is not true? I do not accept this, and actually embody that in my body, right? So we work with the nervous system, but also we expand our awareness. I'm going to try to explain this in the most succinct way. So consciousness, right? It's really our perspective, what we put attention to. If I decide I am wealthy, I'm a gajillionaire, my consciousness goes to that. And I find all of the things in my environment, we're doing the subconscious work on the back end, but also consciously, I am a gajillionaire. I find all of the things in my reality that will confirm that. Now, we get really, really rigid with this, right? And we're like, no, it has to look like this. It has to be money in my pocket. It has to look like a gajillion dollars in my wallet. But is that true? Does it? How do you go from 0 to a gajillion, right? There's got to be something in between. And I know that this is different for everyone, but the way that we change our perspective and our mind on that is what we allow our mind to focus on. And the way that we do that is by expanding our consciousness. When we do shadow work, and you guys, maybe I'm an evil genius, maybe not, but when I do work with people, I am planting seeds, right? Like subconsciously planting seeds of expanding your consciousness, of showing you different perspectives. Like I'm showing you the way that I think about things, the way that I perceive things, because I want you to expand your consciousness, because the more that your consciousness expands, the more you can see of the quantum field, right? Of the potentials and the possibilities that are out there for you. So it's not just like, wealth, money, I need to focus on that. No, it's also shadow work. It's also seeing your relationships a little bit differently. It's perceiving your work a little bit differently. Everything that you're willing to see in a different light expands your consciousness, and therefore expands everything, and allows you to take in more information that is more aligned to your expanded consciousness, to the possibilities and the potentials of the quantum field, right? So even doing shadow work, although it might seem like it's doing nothing, it's always doing something, because at the very, very least, it's expanding your consciousness. It's expanding what your mind allows you to take in, because we know that the mind deletes, cancels things that it thinks are not important. But now we're changing what's important. Now we're willing to see things differently. Now that these tomatoes on my doorstep are wealth, are money, right? Like I am abundant in tomatoes, right? Like whatever. It's changing a lot with changing your perspective. Okay. So going back to manifesting with your chart, look at your definition. This is what you have the gifts to do. These are your gifts. If there's something in here you want that you do not have, we know that there's shadow work that needs to be done, right? Next thing we want to look at is our undefined centers, especially if you're split definition. If you're split definition, you want to go to your undefined centers, because these are going to be the places that you go to when you are in fight or flight, when you are in freeze, right? These are a lot of times who we are currently being, because we're all in survival mode, because we're all healing from trauma, or don't know we have trauma and not healing from it. So this is who I am currently being if I'm in the not self, if I'm in survival mode, not self, right? Equal, somewhat equal for our example. So I cannot manifest the things that I want when I'm in the not self of this open solar plexus, right? Because that means I'm in survival mode. I'm lying, I'm cheating, I'm avoiding confrontation, I'm avoiding truth. If you have an open solar plexus or an undefined solar plexus and you are not telling the truth everywhere in your life, you are fucking yourself up. The way that I explain this is timelines, right? A gajillion timelines. Every decision we make creates another world, creates another dimension, another timeline. If you want to jump timelines, if you want to create quickly, Start telling the truth everywhere in your life. Is this easy? No. Does it suck? Yes. Especially with an open solar plexus, because you already are predisposed to empathy and feeling the feelings of other people, especially when you tell the truth and you trigger them. So you already have this like people pleasing tendency that you're probably born with to keep you safe. It's a protection mechanism. So going against your protection mechanism takes a regulated nervous system. It takes a regulated nervous system to say, I am consciously going to tell the truth here, even if it's scary. Imagine doing that when you are in fight or flight. No way. No way does your body let you do that. You're just creating more harm. You're just creating more toxicity in your body. So you might do it consciously because you're pushing and controlling. I need to manifest. So Donna said I have to tell the truth, so I'm going to tell the truth. But you're in fight or flight. So your body's like, oh my God, no more, no more, no more. Too much stress. So the first thing we always do is nervous system regulation. Now, this is something that I give you in your in the report, in the shadow report that you can download. I don't think I have it here because this is a different one. Yeah. Well, here it's free because this is my demo, my dummy. But you can download this report and I will tell you how to regulate your nervous system based on your body graph. And this is part of the deal. Like, I think people think that like, here are your shadows that I'm going to give you exactly what's going on for you in your life. And like, this is the step-by-step thing to fix it. And then you're good. Like, no, you guys, this is a process. I am giving you the foundation. Hi, line 3. I'm giving you the safety of a foundation that you build up from. I'm expanding your consciousness so that you can start manifesting and creating and observing and seeing different things in your life. Like, it's not as easy as just tell me my shadows and what I need to do. I'm sorry, I wish I could do that. And I do give you a deconditioning process that does walk you through it, but you have to do the work. It's not like I don't have a magic wand. You have to do the work because it takes time to expand that consciousness. And like, this is my evil genius behind it, is that is literally what I'm doing every time I post on Instagram, every time I do a podcast. I'm expanding your awareness a tiny bit at a time. Tell me you don't notice different things after you listen to the podcast, after you read my emails, after you look at my Instagram. Like, tell me you don't start to see things differently. You do, because that's the magic I put in here. Okay. Regulate the nervous system. If you're in the not self, you have a dysregulated nervous system. There, I said it. I put it out there. Okay. I can't take it back. I mean, I guess I could chop this up and delete it, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave it out there. So we want to look at our undefined centers. If you're a split definition, then you want to look at your bridges. So my 57 bridge, when I feel broken, my 27 bridge, my 25, right? When I feel broken, I'm not good enough, dysregulated, not self. I'm obsessing over these bridges. I want to know what they are. So that way, when I observe myself obsessing, I can say, oh, dysregulated, not self, fight behavior, flight behavior, whatever it might be. And if you want to know what your most common, the likelihood of your most common trauma response is, look at your conscious moon, right? Minus 51. And again, I give this to you in the report. I tell you what it is and what it might look like. Yes, there's nuances, but this is my flight response, right? When I'm feeling like, oh my God, shit, I have so much pressure. I need to be first. I need to do it big. I need to do it good. Everybody, competitive. My flight to like start different things. Do this, do that. Be first, do it better. I'm like, whew, dysregulated, girl, not self behavior. That's how I use that. I'm the observer, right? Like, I am not the person that's talking right now, and I am not the person that's thinking right now. I am the person that's observing the me that's thinking and the me that's talking. Again, expanding awareness, right? If I am just the observer, then what am I observing about my not self behavior, about the things that I'm doing? Is that real? And is it whatever my perspective changes to that is real? I mean, that's a whole other discussion that like I'm about to have with my coach today about like what is real and what isn't real. So to be continued. But going back to manifesting real quick, because this episode is running long. We can use our definition to look at where we are right now. Where we are right now is probably in your undefined centers or your bridges if you're in survival mode. What my potential is in your definition, just like super simple. Yes, of course, there's other potentials and possibilities, but just for the sake of this example, where we are right now, not self, bridges, undefined centers, our potential definition. But if we don't have what we want, if we're not operating from our definition, then, and we are in survival mode, we're also operating from the not self of our definition. And that's what I give you in the free report. So you can use this to see where you're at right now. And then what did we learn today? Use your body to figure out who you are being and what feels safe. If it feels unsafe to be a gajillionaire, then there's shadow work that needs to be done. And you can use your human design chart to help you with the shadow work, right? Because I know that if I am in the not self, I'm not a gajillionaire yet, and this is something I have the energy to be, and I want to create it, I can look at my undefined centers or my bridges and say, where am I in the not self? Okay, now I know I'm in the not self of the solar plexus, let's say. Well, I know that the solar plexus is all about honesty. Where am I not being honest? So yes, I do the shadow work on the money, right? But also I'm recognizing that I'm also not being honest, because everything is related. Everything is related. And when you start knocking over these dominoes by realigning to the true self, you'll realize that everything is connected. Like the not telling the truth is somehow connected to your money. I promise you. I promise you, they are all somehow connected. That's why we use the domino system analogy, right? That if you knock down one domino, the rest will go down, or they'll at least be easier to see. Okay. So let me walk you through my process, just for like easy like way to end this, so you have like a process. Okay. What am I manifesting? How does my body feel about it? What's the story that my mind is telling me about this thing? Consciously feel the fight or flight, right? And then what is my mind telling me about this? Then doing the shadow work on it, right? Going back, journaling, inner child work, letting it out, writing a letter, you know, whatever it is, you're giving it a place at the table, because denying it exists is not the way to do it. Affirming and pretending that this is not your current reality is not the way to do it. So we want to accept this is where we're at, and this is why. Give your shadow a place at the table. Don't try to fix it. Just let it be. Let it exist. Let it breathe. Let it talk, right? I don't have what I want right now, and it's because of this. And that's cool. But now I'm going to expand my awareness through shadow work, through podcasts, through, it depends, however you learn, however you like to do it, through meditation, through journaling, through being with yourself, through reading a book, whatever. I'm going to expand my consciousness so that I can be someone, I can be more of myself, right? I'm going to look at my undefined centers and my bridges, and I'm going to see who I'm being that is not me. And then I'm going to try to be more me by expanding my consciousness, by allowing. But I'm still allowing my current reality to have space, right? I'm still allowing my shadows. I'm just observing it. I'm observing it. And then who I am being from that place and what I'm creating, my thoughts, my beliefs are going to slowly change. Now, yes, you can say, I am someone who is a gajillionaire, and you can affirm that over and over again. But if your body is reacting negatively to it, it's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to. So I encourage you to let the shadow live. Let the shadow work let the shadow have a place in the world, right? In your reality. Look at your undefined centers and your bridges. Where am I living in the not self energy? Where am I in survival mode so that I cannot create? Begin to change who you are being, the energy you're putting out there, by expanding your consciousness, by seeing other potentials and possibilities, and really choosing them, confirming, oh my God, yes, I just received $5, like confirmation, I am wealth, whatever you want it to be. And then you go from there, right? You don't have to have the entire staircase. Go from there. And I promise you that you will see the next step. The next step will be clear. And then you might have to go back into the shadow work and back into the body graph. Where else am I in the not self behavior? Okay. So this is your shadow chart. I will drop a link. I will put a link in the show notes. You can download the report in your, if you scroll to the bottom, you can download the report. It's currently $97. If you have questions, email me. Like, I am totally here to answer your questions. Do not use the arrow for manifesting, but you know what? It's not a raw thing, but if it works for you, fantastic. I love that for you. Go into the body, regulate the nervous system, figure out how to best regulate for you. You can use the shadow report to help you do that. I also give you a deconditioning process. Once you get into it, it is magic. I promise. It doesn't look like a lot, but once you start doing the work, it's magical. All right. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have questions. I will see you next time. Bye.